So there was a group of us that went out for a short trip to the Bay Area. Myself, Ajahn Guy, Himiko, Samara Baya, Anagarka, Andrew and Anagarka, Andreas. And yeah, it's in my mind I was a bit prepared for entering the city, having a sense of samana sanya, the perception of being a samana, the perception of being a mendicant, a monk out in the world, out in public. And so, it was a very pleasant trip, going to see the Body Worlds exhibit, sort of a substitute for being able to see an autopsy. We saw plastinated bodies in the museum in San Jose. And for several years I had seen these books and looked in these books at Abhayagiri. They're called the Corporal Welton, so there's German doctor who'd learned how to basically inject plastic into corpses that were donated to him and then dissolve the parts of the body that he didn't want to see visible. So you had all of these visible parts of the body. And there was about 7 full bodies there. And you could see some of them you could see their different organs and muscle, tissue. In different parts there was some skin left over and a little bit of hair. But for the most part all of the skin was dissolved, and we were able to see a lot of the different parts of the bodies that we don't normally see. And so it was a very good time for us to contemplate this. I think we spent more than 2 hours there, just looking at these different parts of the body. I remember one was an arm, and it was just the blood vessels of the arm, and the whole outline of the arm is in blood vessel. So the blood vessels permeate our whole body to the point where, for the most part, they're everywhere, so that you can see the entire body made of blood vessels. It just looks like a person without everything else. So this was it doesn't quite substitute for an autopsy where there's the liquid element of the body and the smell, and really seeing these parts fairly close to how they would be when they were living. But I think it was good enough. And so that was it felt like there was a different experience with what we were doing and how others were there, kind of what they were seeing. And then the next day, just sort of juxtaposing that, we decided to go on alms round in Berkeley, and it was quite a special experience because our alms round here, we're very used to it, very used to seeing the same people, and there's not a lot of spontaneity around it, and we don't usually stop and stand in one place, which has a very humbling effect. That sense of just waiting to see if others notice us and if they'll offer alms to us. And so it was a very special experience for, I think, Ajahn Guy and Himiko were standing about 75 feet from us we weren't quite visible to each other, and they had some interactions, but I believe they didn't actually receive anything. And then just 75 feet away, we had a lot of interactions, and then we received quite a lot of food, actually. And it was quite heartening to interact with the people who were, wanting to have a connection with us. One of the fellows was Burmese, and he was an Uber driver, and he seemed so happy to be able to give alms. And then there was a Thai, very old Thai couple. I think the man was 86. He'd been living in the States for about almost 60 years. And so his wife went in to go get food, and she'd said, he likes to talk, just talk to him while I go get some food. And so she went in, and then when she found out there were two other monks whom she didn't see, she then went back in and got more food. So this kind of continued, and there was some others who were asking. And then one fellow was talking with us, and he had some Dhamma experience, and he asked what we were doing. So we're collecting alms food, and then the kind of conversation sort of came to an end. He said, "Well, I've already gone in to get some, to the Berkeley Bowl where we were standing," and he said, "Sort of the food I have is already, needs to be cooked. I have some hemp hearts, but." And he had asked, what happens if we don't, if we're not going to have, if we don't get food, and I said, well, if we don't get food, then probably this is the food that we would eat for our midday. So I hadn't thought about whether we'd go and get food if we didn't. I'd thought about it, but I wasn't sure what was going to happen, if we were going to have enough or not. I said, oh yeah, we might not eat if we don't have food for the midday. And he said, well, you guys don't look that skinny. I think you'll be all right. And he walked away. And so it was, there were all kinds of interactions that we had. One woman asked, like, well, what can I get you? And I said, anything ready to eat. She said, well, what do you want? And anything you'd like to get. Well, I don't want to waste it, In other words, we would throw it away if she got the wrong thing. We'll eat whatever you get. And each one of them seemed pretty happy, like almost delighted when they were offering the food, that kind of delight, and over kind of just feeling really happy around being kind and generous. And that being a recipient of that is so beneficial. So as monks, there's a lot of humility, and that day that's all we ate. We really pretty much, I think like almost everything, like 98% or something of the food we ate was like just based on what these people had given us, and so there was a real feeling of happiness, at least for myself. I think for the others as well, just having received alms pretty much spontaneously in Berkeley, and I don't know if our monks have done that before, but it just worked quite well. I mean, we were out there for a couple of hours, but it's sort of the alms mendicancy life, the life of being a receiver of kindness and generosity. It works out there, and people are kind, and they have that wish for others to be well, to be well fed, and that kind of happiness of others living a spiritual life. So these experiences, just looking at how we are as a monk, the things that we do, and from contemplating our bodies as impermanent and unattractive, and being receivers of incredible generosity. It all brings up a very beautiful sanya, a sense of what this life is and what it can offer us, and how much we can really benefit from so many aspects of just living our lives as monks. One fellow came over to us. He just kind of said, "Oh wait, hey, stop! You're monks. You're monks." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, like what is your religion? It's monkism, isn't it?" And then we explained a little bit, and then he was just happy to see us, that sign of the samana. So, we're not only just like signs, the samana, signs of monastics going through the world, but for ourselves, we create that for ourselves, a perception of what it is that we're doing, and that can benefit us in so many ways. So those are just some words of reflection this morning.